Hello, my fellow aliens. Take 375. Music evolution. Seattle is best known for making grunge, which is a type of rock and roll in the late 1980s. Seattle's musical sound is an evolving one and hasn't stopped since it started. So we start in the mid-1950s when Seattle was kickstarted by the Frantics. They were the first rock group to have songs in the national top 40 charts. Bands at these times and how they played aggressive guitar rock made them icons in later development in the music around Seattle. Jazz was also around at the time and is still today. In 1960, it was bubblegum pop era. This era was focused on school, sweets, and more teen or girly-ish things. It was the first era with innocent and catchy songs that others later wouldn't have. It presented simple chords, high vocals, organ solos, and a cheap childlike hook like schoolyard games. In the late 60s and early 70s, it was mostly only bubblegum music, which was mostly single song hits and not albums. Groups like the Lemon Pipers, Ohio Express, and the Archies, which was an animated group that looks like Scooby-Doo characters, had one of the biggest hits and most successful songs, Sugar Sugar, for 1969. The music type didn't stick around for long, and some people think K-pop is similar, but I haven't compared the two. Jimi Hendrix, who also came from Washington, is a big influence and is called arguably the greatest instrumentalist in the history of rock. When we switch into 1970s, it's glam rock, which was focused on the UK but inspired by all the bubblegum music from Seattle, and was later focused here. Most songs were made up of stomping, repetitive verses, big guitar riffs, loud chants, but they were simple. To wrap it up, it was loud and obnoxious, but it wasn't easy. The music transformed the cities for the rest of the decade and helped make a bigger and better movement into early punk or anti-hippie stances. It was backlash against the rock mainstream of the last 1960s. Performers wore outrageous costumes, platform shoes, makeup, and big hairstyles, not to mention glitter. In 1980s, hair metal became a thing with the help of the bands Slade and Aerosmith, which helped change the musical sound. Slade sold over 45 million records worldwide and 15 million just in the United States alone. One of their biggest hits, Every Rose Has Its Thorn, which I've heard before and recommend, placed in the top 10 singles. The band is still together, and some of the members have released solo songs. The band wore over-the-top looks, which consisted of long and poofy hair, dark clothes, and makeup. In the late 1980s, it was Washington's time to shine. They say grunge was made overnight, but really took 15 years in the making, and the term grunge was used to describe murky guitar bands, which were the bands Nirvana and Pearl Jam, that played heavy metal, hard rock, post-punk, and alternative rock. Nirvana and Pearl Jam won an increasing audience and released multi-million-selling albums. Band of Horses, Foo Fighters, Macklemore, and the Presidents of the United States of America have also come from Washington, too. While this was all happening, Seattle's economy was booming with the Microsoft Corporation, so record executives came to Seattle looking for the quote-unquote new thing. When media started to spread the word, stores started selling knockoff clothes, for example, flannel shirts, thermal underwear, like under your clothes wear, not the, you know what I mean, combat boots, and stocking hats. The impact of these bands is unmeasurable. Not only were these bands and era one of the best, but they also helped bring awareness to socially conscious things through lyrics. This is what has helped so many people today. People think grunge has faded at different times. It could have been when Kurt Cobain killed himself in 1994, simply because he was a general spokesman of the time, or it could have been when the Soundgarden members disbanded. Instead of Nirvana, Soundgarden, and Alice in Chains, you had Britney Spears and the Backstreet Boys. But here we are now in this pop rap, or whatever you want to call it, area. The economy was booming with the Microsoft Corporation, so record executives came to Seattle to try to find the quote-unquote new thing. So when media started spreading the word about Seattle and grunge, stores started selling knockoff clothes. For example, flannel shirts, thermal underwear, and not like the underwear. Yeah, not that underwear, like under your clothes wear. They also sold combat boots and stocking hats. And, I mean, they're not Christmas stockings. They're beanies. But the impact of these bands is unmeasurable. Grunge spread from Seattle to California, and it became a worldwide phenomenon just from the start of Seattle. Songs like Nevermind from Nirvana, Facelift from Alice in Chains, and Pearl Jam's 10 allowed the music type to grow even more. Nirvana had sold over 25 million records just in the US and over 75 million worldwide. Like, that's kind of crazy. Not only were all of the bands pretty much the best, but they helped bring awareness to the socially conscious things through lyrics, and that's what has helped us so much today. People think grunge has faded at different times, but it could have been when Kurt Cobain killed himself, which he was a general spokesman person or guy of the time, or it could have been when Soundgarden members disbanded. So instead of Nirvana, Soundgarden, and Alice in Chains, you now had Britney Spears and the Backstreet Boys. And now we have this pop, rap, whatever you want to call it era.